People who have been on the deep web, what's the scariest thing you've found? Part 2. Technically, back before I registered my domain, I had a script that would email me my IP address anytime it changed. I'd use it to SSH into some private media and file servers at home. I suppose the scariest thing I saw while doing that was my tax info. I did not make very much as a graduate student. I haven't fired up Tor in years, but I found it really disturbing how easy it was to bump into child porn. Also animal abuse, lots of random images of burned and tortured pets. There are a lot of sickos out there. You try not to think about it, but they exist, and that scared me. One of my friends found a site where you could put in any race, ethnicity and a way to be killed, and there would be a video for it. Asian, to death. Video. Jewish, to death. Video. So on and so forth. I've seen the bad stuff. But the worst was probably a group of people who try to infect others with HIV. Noped out of that pretty quick. When I was at school in Colorado, we would buy Xanax, ecstasy, and whatever else off the deep web all the time, but once we ran into a vendor selling people without arms and legs. I'm guessing they were meant to be sex slaves, but who knows if that's all they were being used for. I stumbled upon a place where people with HIV go around and purposely infect others with HIV and then go to this particular site and brag about it. There is a name for it, I just can't remember what it's called. Pretty sick. A website about an animal torturer who specialized in dogs. He would gladly take an animal off your hands, with no questions asked. The site had pictures of dead dogs posed in various positions or in simply severed pieces. So this may seem like a nebulous answer, but the real scary shit are the portals. By that I mean little doors hidden from everyone except the people who know that they are looking for. Seemingly innocuous sites that have clues hidden in the page source, or seemingly innocent image galleries containing images that have audio clues or other things embedded in the code that have to be extracted through specific means. When I was in college, the guy who got me into computers used to show me the ones he had cracked. One of them led to a .pdf that was a copy of the original Anarchist's Cookbook, first edition, before it was heavily edited and stripped down. It had shit in there including detailed chemical breakdowns of military-grade explosives, way deeper than just your typical, this is how you build a weapon, stuff. There were other, more sinister, portals, too. There was one that just led to a chat room he showed me that was some kind of ultra-occult LARPing shit. Except they would share ASCII image scans of super fucked up shit, like snuff-level violence, that you could really only see if you copy-pasted the code into a word editor and scaled it a certain way. I was bored once a couple years back and was playing around with Tor. Found a lot of things like buying weapons, drugs, hitmen, credit card info. They even had bogus Netflix accounts for sale. But the worst was a Twitter link. I didn't click it cause I didn't use Twitter at the time, but I found out a few years later that people allegedly use Twitter links as a way to locate child porn. I wrote a book about what I found, The Darkest Web. It's split into 3 parts, dark, darker and darkest. By far the scariest thing, darkest, was the hurtcore sites. Hurtcore is a fetish for people who get aroused by the infliction of pain, or even torture, on another person who is not a willing participant. Although it can apply to animals, adults or children, the hurtcore sites on the dark web tend to be almost exclusively a subset of the pedophile sites. It can be so sadistic that even most pedophiles are repulsed by it. Videos and photos generally come out of poverty-stricken countries, but the market is worldwide. I used to go on the deep web for laughs cause I found some hilariously weird sites on there that are probably easy to find on the regular web too, but what finally made me delete Tor was actually finding CP. The only context I had was loli, and I assumed it would have been either another troll website or just hentai. There were very explicit photos of actual little girls, age range 6 to 12, and an absolutely disgusting amount too. A lot was for sale, but most were surprisingly free. I deleted Tor after witnessing that horrific sight. I nearly puked. Me and my brothers all decided to view the dark web together. Once we set up Tor, we were all telling each other to go first. At the time I was 13 and my brothers were like 12 or 11. We browsed for hours and thought it was boring, just a bunch of and guns. Then we started digging deeper, going through links that led to other links with regular porn. We then accidentally click on an ad, and then a picture of a girl the age of my little sister, about 6 or 7, popped up and she being penetrated by a grown man. I slammed my laptop closed and felt sick. I helped out with some of the 4chan raids to help shut down some of those child porn sites. But man, you can't unsee that. That's some messed up crap, glad it's gone now. The scariest thing I found was that for $250,000 the FBI would be able to make enough nodes to break the anonymity security methods used to achieve it. Assuming they haven't already done so. Considering that amount is a drop in the bucket of the funding they have access to, one has to assume that they have already done it, and, while they may not be hosting every onion site, they have control of the routing and know everything that happens on the network. I'm like 99% sure the whole thing is just a honeypot for people that don't know better or are just bad at OPSEC. One of the worst videos I ever saw was of a hunter shooting a young bear climbing a tree, then a naked chick comes into the frame and the hunter has sex with the woman on top of the dead bear cub's back. If memory serves, they were both wearing firefighter helmets too. It was very surreal and you could hear the bear dying. This was about 10 years ago now. I've never seen it again. You have to actively look and seek out the sick shit. You don't log into the deep web and have a Google recommendation pop up pointing you to kiddie porn, drugs, and snuff films. If you stumble across that shit, it's because you knew where to find it and were seeking it. High quality pure drugs that are backed up by chemist reports and cost about 10% what they do on the street. I say this is scary because there's so many people buying dirty stepped on shit at ridiculous prices from the street. Then there's the dark web where you know it's pure and it costs only a fraction. A PDF written by a terrorist, Abdul Aziz, about how to make poisons of multiple kinds. Even has documented effects of what happens when ingested, tested on rabbits. It's horrific as fuck, and he even says that he wishes his brothers can continue research, fill in missing information, lethal doses, etc., and that Allah may reward him every time it is used in his path. Multiple shadow net sites asking for ludicrous amounts of money for access. Some don't even have a paywall, but an invitation from an inside member. I believe these are Red Room sites, but I can't confirm as I don't have $4,000 worth of Bitcoin and I want to live CP and videos. My therapist recently attended a training session with cops dealing with child abuse. One of the presenters told a story about a live stream of a girl getting abused while the viewers paid money for the abuser to do whatever the customer wanted. I imagine this is dark web material. So, yeah, I didn't even see the presentation, but goddamn that shit bothers me. I found a site that sold creepy dolls and stuff like that. I didn't know why it was on the deep web until I realized that the dolls were made out of human body parts. There's also lots of places that will sell you guns with the serial numbers filed off, and you can also hire hitmen to kill someone for 50 grand or something like that. I used to buy sites of all shapes and colors on the deep's web. On those same sites you could buy hitmen, unmarked guns, prostitutes, proxy bank accounts, and get this, hire someone to drive to your family's house, impersonating a cop, and tell them you died. I used to read news, but man, there is an insane amount of child pornography. Is it truly difficult to get it taken down? I find it scary to think it's so abundant. How many people are genuinely into it, and could they be people I know? God, I hate contemplating who people might secretly be. There have been a handful of times I have known about major news, data breaches, tech exploits months before they hit the media. Generally, in the mix of all the noise, it is hard to know what is real and what is important. It makes me wonder how much of the stuff I see is legit, but is never discovered by the population at large. Tor live streams on the deep web are most likely a very elaborate lie. To be able to live stream while using, I assume, the Tor browser is quite difficult. When using things like Tor and Onion routing to access this part of the internet, you're gonna be facing a lot of latency issues. That's why trying to download something that's a mere 5 megabytes might take a few hours. The point is here, the only way to stream on the deep web is through a very compressed and cheap quality. 3 to 4 years ago. Decided to take a peek. Found a website for hackers, contract killers and hijackers. Thought I had seen enough, but my computer decided to crash on me. Restarted it and saw all my desktop messed up. Looked like Windows 3.11 and a message on my wallpaper saying, "We know." I formatted my hard drive, wiped it clean 10 times, and have since notepad myself away from that area. Supposed hitman services, but look. I doubt that shit really works. Maybe there's a way, deeper, but I bet the ones I seen are straight up scams. What are you gonna do? You're using an anonymous browser to buy an illegal service with anonymous currency. Really, you could say this about anything, but I guess it just comes down to their reputation, as much of one as they can really have before being shut down. You know, it's not a bad place necessarily. In fact, the point of the deep web is to just connect you with more servers that anyone can set up anonymously, ultimately just making a more open web, with less tracking. That's also why there's no domain names to buy, and finding stuff can be hard. But there are search engines and wikis that have a bunch of sites and information. I was clicking random links on day. After a few hours of some pretty dark shit, I found a site of some kind of off-the-grid hospital. The site was dedicated to medical-grade reports of various procedures they would perform. From my understanding, all of the patients were pregnant women. It would have anatomical photos and details about what they would do to the fetuses. The procedures were mostly how fetuses at various stages of development would react to whatever chemical was introduced to it. It was really fucked up. Like way too detailed. Each link on the site had a different woman, different fetus, different procedure, etc. I went through several before I couldn't stomach it. There were hundreds of links. I also remember something about it supposedly being in Europe. The details are a little fuzzy to me because I try and block it out. To be honest, I puked when I read through it. My friend is pretty fond of the deep web, and he once showed me a video that scarred me a little. Basically, it's in a South American prison, Venezuela. And inmates filmed a dead body as they cracked open its and played around with the brain and all the goodies inside. That was fine. What made me want to puke was its dead eyes staring at me through the screen. Those stayed with me in my nightmares. There was a dark web Twitter that I used to use for my links, as people like to post links they found on it. That was till one of the links took me to child Noped out of there and reported it to the FBI like 4 times just to make sure they got it. I hope it was shut down, and same to the deep web Twitter and Facebook. Came across a forum where this guy offered pictures of credit cards. He mentioned that he has physical access to a lot of CCs every day because of his job, so I assume he was working in a bank. I don't know what you can do with just the CC number and the CVC number at the back without the PIN code or password, but it was still scary to know that if you go to your bank, chances are the employee there will sell your credit card information on the web. Alright, 18 male German student here with some of experiences, although I am going to tell my stories, about the darknet, which isn't necessarily the same as the deep web. My first time on the darknet was just a few months ago. I watched a YT video by Random Gaming in HD and used the hidden wiki for the first time thanks to him. On there, I was taken aback how many links to mostly illegal stuff there was. Buy a gun. Euroguns. Black market guns. Easy as it is. Buy 15 ounces for $300. Though this is probably the worst quality. I mean, the price is so low, I wouldn't wonder if it was mixed with the most poisonous shit to make it so cheap. Buy a slave. Hijab girls. I am not joking here. There were links sorted by the different categories, like commercial, news, forum, pleasure, stuff like that. Went in the darknet to learn some more about hacking. Got into a German forum about it and read a shit about hacks of our government, media. Even the German Sparkasse was almost taken down but could just barely defend themselves. How to set up a botnet. How to participate in a red room. Free child pornography. Like, teasers. Got the hell out of there. Was pressing Alt plus F4 faster than when my parents come in while I have a little bit of air, alone time. Hacked PayPal accounts. On sale. I use PayPal rather often, and it scared me that there were a lot of German accounts listed, 2,300 euros on it for about 190 euros. How to get away with murder. So yeah, this is my top 7 of the scariest things I found there. Probably no one is going to scroll this far down to see it, wanted to share it nevertheless. Kids, the darknet isn't a fabulous place where you get all kinds of stuff for free. You won't find cracked games on there or free V-Bucks for Fortnite. Don't go there, don't go over start, do not collect $400, just don't. Gives you scars for life. $100,000 USD a day for military work in Russia. People, including myself, inquired to find out more information. The op said that you needed to speak Russian fluently, preferably a native, or you would stand out like a pink elephant. He also said that military experience was a must. But $100,000 a day to work in Russia doing whatever they wanted you to do. Way back there was a person selling UK citizenship for £35,000, full passport and registered on the system and everything. The way the instructions were written, it was fairly clear they had the access and ability to do this. The process would take months and there were very specific conditions laid out. The unrepented necrophile. I was clicking around on images and there was one of a woman sitting in a coffin. I can't remember her name, but I read her whole story and it made my stomach hurt. She worked in a morgue for years just so she could enjoy young men.